All tattoos must be covered? Okay. Worked in a nursing home about 10 years ago as RN on night shift. Had 2 small upper forearm tattoos, text, upon hire, but usually wore a jacket to cover them. Was never an issue if I had my jacket off, always struck up a conversation about my ink and the meaning behind it. One day, the director of nursing announced that all tattoos must be covered at all times as to not offend the residents or visitors. Okay, I worked at night, with patients who had some memory issues, so sure, whatever. Don't want to offend anyone. Malicious compliance. Towards the end of my shift, I remembered the new rule. Management would be in soon. I took 2 large pieces of silk tape and covered my tattoos to prove the point. Management, noticing the tape on each forearm. What happened to your arms? Me, oh well, you guys made that new rule that all tattoos must be covered, so I covered mine. Management, oh, I didn't know you had tattoos. Me, my point exactly. You noticed the tape yet never noticed my ink. Soon after, the rule was thrown out. Now to the comments. I knew a swim instructor who had a tattoo on his shoulder of a naked woman straddling an A-bomb. Had to draw a swimsuit on her with a Sharpie every day. At that point, I think I would probably just gotten some sheets of temporarily unicorn tattoos or whatnot instead of fiddling with a Sharpie every day. Am male. Had an ear piercing. Worked at a supermarket. All men had to cover up any earrings with plasters, so used blue plaster. One day a customer came in, asked what I'd done to my ear and angrily asked to see the manager. They were an employment lawyer. Got my other ear pierced the following week to take advantage of the newfound ability to show them off. I worked at an employer that allowed women to wear dresses or skirts below the knee, but men had to wear full-length slacks, never shorts. One warm day, a co-worker of mine wore shorts. When management complained, he said it wasn't fair because women could wear skirts. Management said tough cookies and sent him home to change. The next day, he came back in wearing a kilt. Management freaked out and the guy mentioned the skirt rule again and said it was discrimination. Management declared the kilt doesn't count because it's not a skirt and sent him home. So this time, he grabbed his sister's dress and came back decked out in a sunflower pattern. Management lost their minds, but he said if women can wear dresses, by law, so can men, and he'd call a lawyer if they sent him home. The next day, it was announced that men could wear shorts. Wow, what a great story. I used to have my eyebrow pierced. My genius DM decided I had to wear one of those little round band-aids on it so nobody would have to be subjected to a facial piercing. Probably 20 times a shift I got asked what happened to my eye area. The band-aid absolutely drew more attention than the ring would have. Should have said you had to wear it because of your DM and not elaborate. Funny to see what kind of misunderstandings would have happened. I lost a debate with my DM. These things happen. It's really not their fault. I made a choice and this is the consequence. I had to do the same at my fast food job. Since I had tattoos on one arm, I wore a sports sleeve rather than a long sleeve shirt under my uniform. It was hot. People constantly asked what happened to my arm and I'd explain I wasn't allowed to show my tattoos. Before that rule, no one ever said anything. Stupid rules draw more attention to tattoos, lol. Had the same thing with an eyebrow piercing when I worked in retail. They said, take it out or cover it. Funnily enough, people will comment on a piece of tape on your face constantly, but never the piercing itself. I work as a teacher now, and while I don't have any of my piercings anymore, I do have several tattoos. Our very proper principal doesn't care, which makes me think she secretly has one. Rumor was that the sophomore English teacher was rocking 2 sleeves. That's why he never exposed his forearms at any time. I worked at a fast food place in college, and they had a no visible tattoos rule. One of the women had a butterfly or something on her hand. They made her wear a band-aid on it. People didn't want to take food she touched, because they thought she's bled on it. When the manager wasn't in, she let her ink show. Nobody gave a shit about her handling their food on those days. I worked in a store in the mall that thought it was a high-end boutique. I genuinely loved their clothes, but it was not remotely a high-end boutique. And they made me wear long sleeves in the summer to cover my tattoos. The company felt that tattoos on their employees would distract customers from the clothes. It was always an eye roll and a laugh when the customer covered in tattoos would ask why on earth I was wearing long sleeves when there was barely any AC in the building. "Oh, it's so I don't distract you with my tattoos." That company is now bankrupt. Gordman's? Nah, this was in Canada and the store originated in Quebec. It had a series of identity crises over the decades, but at its peak they sold the best clothes from the 90s to the early 2000s for the grunge/rave/club scenes. With the exception of their prom/party dresses, they never managed to stay on trend after that and had been in dire straits for a long time because they couldn't quite nail who their customer base was supposed to be. I worked in a hospital with a rat tech that had two-face tattoos. She had her eyebrows removed and replaced by tattoos. She looked good. I can just imagine her with white tape over her eyebrows now. Same here, except my co-worker is in need. I asked her one day if she had any tattoos and she said, "Yeah, 2, you've seen them." Confused the hell out of me until she pointed at her eyebrows. "They're so well done." 10 years ago maybe, if they said that on my unit now every single nurse would be wearing long sleeves. I'm so glad this is changing. Half of what really convinced me is working with elderly tattooed people and they look rad. I'll just keep it above the elbows until I get established. Dang, I would need a wetsuit or overalls. I'm just imagining someone wearing a wetsuit under their scrubs coming into my hospital room and I definitely snorted a little. While you went there, I went to someone doing rounds in a wetsuit, snorkel plus mask, and swim fins. Good for you. Most ink is tastefully done and does not offend anyone. However, I have come across some pretty strange ones in my travels. I inspected nursing homes for Medicare/Medicaid for 10 years. One male nurse's aide was caring for a patient. He had a set of arm protectors, a sort of stocking/sleeve that has the purpose of preventing skin tears in the extremely frail elderly. I asked him what the arm protectors were for. He pushed back the protectors to reveal extremely violent and sexual tattoos that covered both arms from his wrists to his elbow. Another time, a female nurse's aide was caring for elderly patients with the words "slit me" tattooed across both wrists. I suppose that there are some people that the cover the tattoo at work rule is a good idea. But it should be based on the individual, not a blanket rule. I had a retail job at a pretty conservative clothing store and they knew I had tattoos since they recruited me from another store that was less worried about tattoos, so they've seen them. I came into the job one day early, before the store is opened, doing visual merchandising, but I had a crook in my neck, so I had a huge heating pad on my neck and shoulder that they could see through my shirt. I guess my management team thought I got another tattoo and very visible on my neck. My boss took me into the office and asked me why I would get another tattoo that would show on my neck, knowing their policy, and asked if I was hoping to switch to the visual merchandising side of the business and reminded me that it would severely cut my hours if I wanted to do that. I had to tell her that 1. I didn't get a new tattoo, I just want my neck to feel better. 2. Do you think I got a tattoo for the sole purpose of forcefully switching my roles at work that would reduce my hours and pay? What did she say? She let it go and basically said, "Oh well, then there's no problem here," and I went home. She actually didn't take me aside until the end of my shift. I worked at a university sandwich shop in the 80s and got my nose pierced. This was in the you could get a piercing at an underground tattoo place in NYC only days. Had a drunk guy come down the line one night. "Oh my gif, they let you work here with that thing?" Me, I. Him, "You look like someone who'd spit in my food." Me, "Keep being so nice to me and I just might." Him, derp, blink, blink, slide away while looking at his feet. People are idiots. I work in an Asian corporation, And I am covered in tattoos. I have to wear a full suit every day to hide them. Occasionally we'll have corporate retreats or whatever where everyone will be naked together, and it always comes up as an issue. They can't say anything to me because I'm good at my job, but the evil looks and the nagging I get is the worst. Sometimes we'll be at a place where they don't allow tattooed patrons either, and I will bow my head and tell my colleagues to have a fun night without me. When did you leave the Yakuza?